Inside the Game, episode 292 is live across your airwaves, National Soccer Network, whether you're watching on Roku, YouTube, anywhere else across the multiple different options here on the National Soccer Network. We appreciate all of you. Got a busy show coming up here today. Neil Rule joining us for the USLW and USL2 Match of the Week conversation. Arsenal, your Premier League champions. I know Ryan's going to have a few things to talk about there. Obviously, we have to mention Chris Richards and everything that's going on with him and some of the injury issues around the U.S. men's national team. But to kick us off here today, we're talking men's college soccer and the massive schedule overhaul, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Georgetown men's head coach Brian Wiese joins us here on Inside the Game. Coach, welcome in.
Thanks for having me. A lot of soccer stuff going on right now, so I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, an exciting time. I wanted to dive into the conversation of the schedule change, but I first wanted to ask you, because I know you guys had a great year last year, just came up shy of potentially winning another NCAA national championship. I thought it was telling. You said it's one of the best groups you've ever had at the school. How are you guys building off that? How has the offseason been going so far?
No, it's been good. Thanks. We have a fun team. I'm going into year 21 at Georgetown now, so I've been at this for a little while, which is good. Last year's team was pretty successful because we got old in our system. Our system is not. I don't even know how to get into the transfer portal. Like, we bring in freshmen and we develop them through to 21, 22, and they graduate and away they go. We don't live in sort of the current world of 24, 25-year-old kids and grad students and transfers and that. So for us to be good and competitive nationally, our 18-year-olds have to become 21-year-olds in our system. And that was the case last year. We had a really good group, and I think next year's team should be very similar. I think we have 15 juniors and seniors in the team, and that bodes well for giving us a chance at it.
Obviously, the college landscape has changed tremendously in your time there. Transfer portal, NIL, now a new schedule. In your eyes, what has been the biggest change in your soccer tenure and coaching college soccer?
Well, to be honest, it's this influx of older international players that have really taken over college soccer in a lot of ways. I think it's a really busy time in terms of that question right now. I think it used to be that most schools were doing a traditional, we'll recruit the best 17-year-olds out of the country, see if we can put them together, see if we can get them to mesh and grow, and then they graduate, and you get the odd transfer here and there. But now coaches are wanting older players, right? They a lot of the successful programs of late have taken 24 and 25-year-old international guys and grad students and meshed them into a team, and the age discrepancy has been a challenge. And so to fight that, other coaches have decided to go older and older and older, and so it's just self-feeding on it. And so we have some real challenges as a college game to be relevant, and that's this fall spring competition model is one step in that for sure. But the other piece to it, which really matters, is while we don't really live in this world of NIL and revenue sharing that football and basketball is neck deep in right now, and causing real financial challenges for everybody, we are very much in the jet wash of that. And have to be very considerate about what's going on in the economy of college sport, and we have to react and be very, very mindful of what that means in our arena.
Diving into, it seems like a more of a natural transition into the splitting the seasons between fall and spring. The majority of the reactions we've seen to the ruling from the NCAA have been overwhelmingly positive. We haven't seen a lot of negative reactions to what they decided. What was your initial takeaway when you learned about the schedule changing?
Well, there's a big history to it because we've been, a lot of coaches in college have been talking about doing this for a long time. And, myself included, there's been a slow evolution of people sort of coming to grips with it and agreeing to it. I actually, 5 4, 5, 6 years ago was in principle in support of a fall spring, but I was against it because no one could tell me how MLS's transition of players from college to the MLS ranks was going to happen. Because if we went to a fall spring model, the MLS calendar starts in January, and so the what happens to the preseason pull out of college players, and how does that affect the college game? And so nobody was able to say what was definitively going to happen, other than that MLS wouldn't take too many college players in January, which would in effect have been in the middle of this new season. But too many players is 30, one for each team, 60, two for each team. How many is it? It's whatever it is. It's an unacceptable number of the best college players leaving in the middle of our competition. And no one was able to articulate what that would be. MLS was just going to say they weren't going to take that many, and the college coaches would say, "Well, we'll figure that out," and that was never addressed. Now, interestingly enough, MLS is going to switch their calendar to the same, right? So MLS is going to start in August and finish in May, probably thereabouts, and that would be the same calendar now that we would be going. So that alignment is really important and really good. That becomes a big part of it. And so now, the only opposition I had to it is long gone, and now it becomes very important that we do it. So there is opposition from people, but it tends to be conferences and schools that just don't want to think about the logistics that are come with any kind of change. There's people who are worried about weather, playing in colder, playing January, February, March. Training and all that, and facility sharing and these things. But these are things that are solvable. And I actually think the U.S. Soccer white paper, which addressed a lot of these questions, gave some true deep thinking on what the solves could be, how you can think about this so it's going to be accommodating to the vast majority of all the stakeholders here. And it's a really elegant document that they made. And in my opinion, we should just jump right into the entire thing that they proposed. Actually, that's the best case scenario and maybe the long-term solution. But we're doing it bit by bit. And this fall and spring calendar is just really the first step in getting us to a place where we need to get to.
With this team, with this new schedule potential, there might be more rest within games now, because maybe you're not playing 2-3 times a week, kind of depending on the schedule and if you're in conference play and all that. Are you now going to be able to, kind of keep the same squad, kind of the same continuity week in, week out, just because, you're playing 1 time a week compared to 2-3 times a week?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefit to this, right? I think the education of what's happening here matters. I think currently we'll come back around August 1st, right? And the games start 2.5 weeks later. That's a really short lead-in period for any preparation. But the other piece to it is that's financial, right? So if the current model has us coming back on August 1st, we play roughly 2 games a week, and you finish, if you make it to the national championship, in the middle of December. Now, a couple of things that are really important to know is if a player picks up an injury, an ankle sprain, a muscle strain, you name it, that you might miss 4 of your games just in a 2-week injury, right? And that's 20% of your season. The new model spaces that out, so you pick up that same injury, maybe you miss 2 games. Right, so the impact on the player for minor injuries is significant. The likelihood you're going to pick up some of those minor injuries maybe goes down because you're not playing in the rigor of sort of 90-minute games with minimal rest between. The proposed model also has us coming back now for us when classes begin. It's the end of August, so I can go to my athletic director and say, this is going to cost us $50,000 less, because we don't have those preseason housing expenses and food and travel and hotels and you name whatever. That's about $50,000 for us that we can take away because we're starting when classes begin. We also get a longer lead up runway to the games. Most of the games will happen on a Friday or Saturday night, so we don't miss as much school when you travel. You have your championships going to happen at the end of April, beginning of May, which is kind of what we've been doing now. So what do you see on TV now? is a lot of softball, a lot of college baseball, a lot of college lacrosse, men's and women's. You see very limited professional sports because basketball's wrapping up, hockey's wrapping up. There is no college football or basketball to compete with. Whereas right now, our championship is really hard to get on TV. We have to fight hard to get ESPNU to televise our national championship final.
Yeah.
And it's because when you're doing that in December, what's going on? It's college basketball. It's the NBA. It's college football. It's the NFL.
Yeah.
There's no oxygen in the room for any marketing, any TV, any exposure for our sport at that time. And so this is a real opportunity for us to also grow the exposure of what college soccer can be. So there's a lot of things to it that are really going to help. And there are some challenges for sure, but they're minor, in my opinion, to what we're doing for a big picture.
I know we want to get into, what your team looks like in the upcoming season. I know Ryan has a question about that. I wanted to work this in very quickly, though, because you had previewed this during the last question. You said that the schedule is just the first step, that there are many other steps and many other things on this list that are to come. What's the next step, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, there's four things. I'll phrase it this way. There's four things. One is the fall and the spring model. We have to align with MLS. We have to space ourselves out. We have to grow the sport. It gives you some time to train, right? There is some things there. The second piece is for us to be relevant, and we talk about relevancy of our sport. How do we grow our importance? How do we grow the product? How do we become a working piece in the pipeline of the U.S. soccer infrastructure, right? We were becoming less and less relevant. There is no harder time to be a very good 17-year-old American soccer player in this country than right now. There's just less and less room for these guys to play at the college level, right? So think about all these things that have come back. And right, this is what I'm talking about when people say, hey, football and basketball have these things. We live in the and I call it the jet wash, right? It's the Top Gun, poor goose when he got hit in the jet. That's where we're in, right? We're sitting around doing we're responding to things we have no control over. And one of those things is there's no more scholarship limits. Okay, you can talk about what does that mean, but really, what the byproduct of that was there's a 28-man roster limit for the vast majority of Division I schools now. Well, what does that mean? There used to be teams out there that had 30, 40 kids on their roster. They could pick anybody, right? If you have a good player, we'll just take him in and we'll see what happens. Now you have a cap. And what's the other thing that's happened? People are talking about a 5-year eligibility cycle across all sports. All right, well, what does that mean? Well, now coaches are going to say everybody's got 5 years. So now think about how many graduate students are going to be out there who've played 4 years, and everybody can now play.
Yeah.
And so, we'll have guys who graduate and they'll go to Duke for a grad year and play. That happened. Trevor Burns played 2 years at Duke as a grad student, started right away in the midfield. Well, that took away an opportunity for an 18-year-old to come in and play there, right? So the international things, all these things. Anyway, so with that as the backdrop, you're looking at a need for us to address how do we give those opportunities back to the 17 and 18-year-old American kids so they can develop, because those kids, some of them are good enough to be pros. Some of them will be good enough to be pros, but aren't right now, right? That's the pool of how kids develop and who are the guys who are going to be your future MLS players, your future national team players. The roads are vast and plentiful, but we can't close off those roads. And so right now, if we can put a door that's bigger out there, we need to do it. And if the current model holds, we're going to have more and more graduate students who are staying an extra year. And by the way, that kid who is staying a 5th year to play college soccer at the age of 22 or 23 is probably not going to be a long-term pro. That kid's already gone off to be a pro, right? That kid, they're good, but are they, or are we going to continue to bring in a 24-year-old Spanish kid, 24-year-old Italian, 24-year-old Brazilian? That's what's happening to compete at our level. So we have to figure out how to change that. And the simple thing is this 5 for 5 year thing is probably the solution that's going to come. And sort of, if it's not, we have to figure out how to be the best U23 league in that we can be as a college game. We need to be the U23 league of U.S. soccer. right? To be fair,
Yeah.
we should be doing what MLS2 is doing, right? The MLS, the pro team, those reserve teams, that should really just be college soccer. We could do it for cheaper and for free and all those things. But right now, the model is these old guys who come in and take it. So we just have fewer and fewer American prospects for coaches and MLS teams to be interested in, right? At the end of the day, right? So we have to change it. So if we have an age cap, the easiest thing, from my opinion, is you have an age cap. You're 23, you can't play in college anymore. You're under 23, you can play. Done, right? That's the first thing. Age cap limits the number of internationals in general, right? Yeah. Because right now there is no 23-year-old American who's going to go to college. The system doesn't work that way. But there are a lot of 23-year-olds, English kids. The system doesn't work for those guys to come to college. That's why there's not Americans who are 23. They're all international. So if you put an age cap on college, say you're 23 and younger, you can play. If you're not, you can't. That helps. The other piece is we have to allow for amateurism to go away. We have to allow for someone to sign with Red Bull as a 16-year-old and then still play in college. We have to. That's kind of coming down the pipe anyway. You can't say this guy who's played quarterback for Virginia is getting $1.5 million from the school to play, and this kid who signed for $40,000 with Red Bull can't. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's going to come right. At some point. That's going to come at some point, right? Like, we'll see how long it takes. But that gives us this little bit more synergy with the system, right? Because these clubs don't want to lose a kid to another club, so they want to sign him. They don't want to have him lose this kid to an international club, so they want to sign him. But right now, this 16-year-old has an incredible decision to make. Do I sign with a club and forego any opportunity to play in college? Or do I not sign with a club and maybe the club moves on and they lose interest and now I can play? So that decision's got to go away. And it also allows for players who sign maybe are going to be good at 16 and by 18 they've picked up an injury, it doesn't work, or they can, these are good players. They should be playing in college because maybe they'll swing back around again, right? And then the last thing, and this is good for a couple of things. This is very much in line with what U.S. Soccer put out in the white paper. We must geographically become more insular in who we play. We got to get rid of the Big East for soccer, right? We got to get rid of the ACC for soccer. We got to get rid of the Big Ten for soccer because we have evolved to have these crazy geographic conferences that are purely done for football reasons and marketing for TV. Nothing to do with the Olympic sports. And so, the Big East, Georgetown, Villanova, St. John's, Seton Hall, Providence, UConn, that makes some sense. But these teams weren't in the Big East in 2012. Marquette, Creighton, Xavier, DePaul, Butler. These are all flights for us, right? Yeah. Because basketball made that happen for our conference. We all now have to fly to those places, and we've kind of gotten used to it. But we need to regionalize. Our conference should be Georgetown, Maryland, Virginia, James Madison, Penn State, Rutgers. All of those are bus rides. We don't have to fly to any of those. You play a home and away. You get a natural geographic rivalry, and you just reform how conferences were originally designed to be, which is like kind of close to you, right? Yeah. And you go like, right. And that's a harder pill to swallow for a lot of people. But if we've modeled that out, if we do that, that will save us about $250,000 a year in travel. And that's us. And we have a pretty good travel schedule. So if you're UW in the Big Ten, right? Or if you're UCLA in the Big Ten, or you're Stanford in the ACC, or by the way, all the teams that are in the Big Ten that have to fly to UW and UCLA.
They go to the West Coast, yeah.
It's crazy amount of money, and we can't be naive with where we are in this whole infrastructure, and the way costs are just going up and up and up. Where for football and basketball, and ADs don't care if soccer wins; they only care if football and basketball wins, and so they're going to make hard decisions at some point for all of us. That we have to be really aware. We have to become cheaper, and if we can do it and keep a competitive model that may be arguably better than what we currently have, we've got to jump on that stuff. So I'm a big proponent of that, and step one is the fall, spring. Step two will be, all right, let's start talking about some of these other things to get in. But we're sort of doing that piecemeal, and if that's the way it has to go, then great.
Last one for me here real quick. You just announced this week your 3 captains for the upcoming season. Matthew Helfrich, Oliver Stafford, Tate Lampman. Apologies if I mispronounced any of the names there. What leadership qualities do those 3 players bring to the table?
We've got a group that have a lot of experience. We give a ton of ownership to. I think one of the things I think is great about college is that these are kids that are hugely talented players. They've all gotten so much better developmentally as players. But what does college do for the development of a kid is the leadership, the character, the how do you, and we put a lot of onus on our players to take over the team. They give us the rules they want to go by. They give us the standards they want to handle. They put a lot of time and effort and thought into how they want to structure the team and how it's going to feel, and then they execute it, right? And so what a great character development tool it is to be in college and then to be a captain. And at the end of the day, these are guys that when you're a captain, everybody wants to be a captain. Everybody wants the armband to do this stuff. But the tough thing about being a captain is, man, when things are going good, it's easy, it's fun. But when things aren't going good, and when anything is not going good, the captain's the one who has to sort of bear that burden. And so, captains are guys that are able to perform while caring about the burden and the load of everyone else around them, and that's a really unique trait. And these guys are very well built to do that. And Tate Lampman's a junior captain, so he's sort of that 1 year behind everybody. Ollie and Maddie are both going to be seniors, and so they'll naturally be in that position of leadership. And so for Tate, who's a special player, special talent, like. This is the thing that's going to be really good for him developmentally. Like, he's a pro in every aspect of his game, and this is the piece that might develop him character-wise to be a long-term pro.
Well, Coach, you said a lot of powerful things here today. It's always good to get the perspective of the people who are in the line of fire when it comes to changing all of this, but we're excited about what this is going to present for men's college soccer and hopefully bring it to another level. We appreciate your time. Hopefully get you back on here at another point here soon.
Yeah, you got it. Anytime. Great.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you. That's Brian Wiese here on Inside the Game. Wow. No worse time than right now to be a 17-year-old American soccer player. That's a pretty powerful statement right there, man. And I know he went pretty far in depth with all the different ways that'll affect, obviously, the way that they go about their business and everybody else. So let's take a break here on Inside the Game. When we come back, we'll continue this soccer conversation here in hour number 1. Again, we got Neil Rule coming up in the 10:15 slot to talk about our games of the week. But first, FC Bayern summer soccer camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels. FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. Right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. Again, that's BayernNSN30, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com.
So the dream behind Irene's was simply to be a place where the community could come and gather. This is my hometown, we're raising our family here, and we just want to be a space where people can come together as a community and share a great meal. We've got golf simulators, we got pinball, live music, trivia nights, but we also have fresh always homemade, locally sourced food. And we serve it with a sense of Gemütlichkeit. This is a German word that conveys a sense of warmth and coziness and belonging. We're excited to show off how we're growing and that this is the place to be.
Welcome back inside the game. All right, I'll be honest. I don't even, I shouldn't even talk in this segment. I'll just kind of, it's kind of like driving a Tesla. You just let the car take you where you need to go. I don't know if anyone has the self-driving Teslas out there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the self-drive mode, and I'm going to let it drive me to my destination, which will more than likely be the next commercial break. And I will allow Ryan to fanboy. We've turned into an Arsenal fanboy account, and I guess the people love it. So here you go, Slappy. Here's your here's your time to shine.
We had hey man, it was a journey. It was a journey we all went on. But no, it was let's just say it was a great day on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday it was. Tuesday. Yeah, because today, honestly, I don't know what day it is. I think it was Tuesday. This is when they won it. I don't remember. There's lots of stuff. Anyway, Dave said he's hit the mute button. Fabian's in the chat as well. We also had a new
that
one come
runway
in.
I gave Dave a little bit.
What'd you say?
You like that runway I gave Dave? I previewed it just enough so that he could hit the mute button.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Dave knows he's gonna hit the mute. Shadrack. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of other letters. It's not looking good for my brain. But Shadrack said best game Arsenal. Yeah, and then we got Ronaldo got his Saudi league. Yeah, Arsenal win the Champions League. You guys are great. But yeah, no, I'm just enjoying my time. Premier League champions, okay. Man City bottled. It's crazy how all that works. Who's that fan? Who's the fan that was doing this? Man City tears taste so good, man. And to see what a true fan base looks like, and the fact that these fans, at least 100,000 plus, around the Emirates, shut the city down until 6 a.m. Like, that's crazy. And then all of a sudden, you've got the players, Timber, Saka, Declan Rice, Eze, all just randomly show up with the fans too, and they're just taking photos. Nate, I am now picturing what I just witnessed. I am now picturing what the city of Detroit is going to look like when the Lions win a Super Bowl. I don't know if it's going to eclipse that. I don't know, because what those fans did, partied until 6 a.m. the next day. I highly doubt they went to work the next day. Maybe they did. I don't know. But it's just so great. And obviously, next week I'll save a little bit more for what the future might look like, because obviously the Champions League finals next week. But, I just really like the way social media has looked the last couple of days. I just really liked it. I just really enjoyed it because of just what happened. And I've never enjoyed scrolling through my phone so much the last couple of days. I was smiling. This spring might be the spring of Ryan, because I've seen the Michigan Wolverines win a natty. I have now seen Arsenal win the league. Tottenham might get relegated for all I know. We got the USL2, USLW seasons rocking, commentating that. Got a show where my teams are winning stuff. And then obviously if we win the Champions League, and then we got the Tigers in there. They're kind of just trash in there. Same with the Pistons. But I don't know, Nate. I've never been so happy in my life. Yeah. I don't know. I was talking this with my cousin. I go, if we win the Champions League as well, I'm just going to stop watching sports, because I will never get that level of happiness ever again. I'm probably going to pick up on knitting. I was thinking that was probably the thing I was going to pick up on. Maybe a little bird watching. I don't know. There's a lot of birds.
There you go. Yeah. There's a lot of different birds too. You got a variety of birds. No, man, I get it. This is, you could say real fan base. Yes. I'll say this though too, a starved fan base. That is what that looks like. I remember in baseball terms, and I said this coming into the show, I remember when the Cubs won their World Series. Now, obviously that's a little bit different. We're talking 100+ years. All right. If that was the case for Arsenal, you would be a dinosaur by the next time they actually won it. It'd be a little bit different. However, still starved, have never seen it or haven't seen it in a long time. And so all the outpouring of emotions are completely different to that of a team or a club that now has the expectation of going out and winning a championship, right? This is why I say like the Boston area annoys me,
You mean the
because
Foxborough
Boston
area?
has this thing. Yes, or Foxborough too, but
You mean
also
them?
Boston. I mean, you have the Celtics and you have the Red Sox and whatever. But you know, when the expectation becomes that we will be in it and we will win a championship, it's not that. There were a lot of passionate fans, I'm sure, before all of that happened. For example, Golden State went through an era where they were terrible for the longest time. The Chiefs never did anything for 50 years before they became really good. There have been many teams and organizations that never did anything, but then when they start winning, you're right, it gets to that point to where it's like, the expectations that we're going to be there. We've gone through this. We know it. Like, the emotional outcry is not going to be the same. The response is not going to be the same. But when you get that team or that club that has been through everything you could imagine, and also what adds to the Arsenal part is that it's not that they were terrible for years. They just found a way to choke it away. Yes, time after time after time. And so that is almost a bigger tease. That is almost harder to deal with if you're a fan than just we're terrible and we're not even in the picture. You know what to expect at that point. And so that's what led to the emotional outcry. But yeah, to your point, Ryan, I mean, just wild to see. And I got to let you take your victory lap. I understand how this works. I understand, you know, obviously people like to get on Arsenal's case, but I don't know if it necessarily means that there isn't a, quote, true fan base for these other clubs. However, entitled fan base, yeah, you could probably say that, because there just became this expectation that they would finish on top. And so for Arsenal fans, I mean, it's almost like, what's the best analogy? I imagine, like, you know, trudging through the desert and then getting a sip of water. Like, it's one of those things where just it rejuvenates you and it completely reinvigorates. I would say arguably one of the largest fan bases in Europe. And so that's why you saw, you know, that's why you saw just the extreme outcry that you did.
Fabian, I would not say that Arsenal is the same as the Cleveland Indians team from Major League. I don't think that. I think that's a little far fetched. We were like really good, but just couldn't get over the top. Yeah, no, I got to get into like what this all meant to me. This is why I brought this on here today. The amount of times I've had to see a bottle with the Arsenal logo on it. And Man City was the bottlers this time. They bottled it. They drew with Bournemouth and Everton. And everyone else was calling bottlers on Arsenal. So, like, this tastes so good. That tastes great. But no, this is what it all meant. As a fan in 2011, truly the first year that I watched this club. And Declan Rice is not equivalent to Wild Thing Vaughn. That is far from Wild Thing Vaughn. If you really want to go Wild Thing, it was probably Gabrielle. That's probably the Wild Thing. But no, the reason I brought the bottle on today is because I had to see it so many times. And what this meant as a true fan from 2011, seeing one of the first ever Arsenal games I've ever watched, us lose 8-2 to Manchester United. And then obviously I'll get to what that resulted. I know everyone likes the extreme butterfly effects. That's an extreme butterfly effect from that game. Mm-hmm. But that was for 8-2. That was for the amount of times I had to walk home from school to see us lose 5-1 to Bayern Munich in the Champions League. That's what that was for. That was for Baku. That was for finishing fourth place was just an option, was just okay. That was for me crying when our star player Robin Van Persie left. Just got his jersey all the way from England. And he leaves to go to Manchester and he'll win the Premier League. To see guys like Cesc Fabregas, Samari Nasri, Gail Clichy, Cashley Cole, all those types of players just get up and walk away and go win trophies. That's what all that was for. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even get to the worst. The social experiment squad, that was 2020 Arsenal. I forgot about that. That was for that too. Somehow we won a trophy. And then the great bottle job of 2022. And then losing and then finishing second place 23 and 24. And then we lose in all the Champions League to Bayern Munich again, PSG. And then now we're in the final of that as well. That's also for 2006, you losing to Barcelona. All of this led up to this, and you saw it in the faces and the the jubilation from the fans. You saw that. And a fan base that has just been destroyed by everyone. That's why I brought the bottle today. The amount of Arsenal logos on these things. And then the fan. And then the fan sitting in the, well, this one's for you, buddy. Bottle jobs. Bottle jobs. I forgot Brits don't use the letter T in their words. But
Bottle.
That's what a bottle of water. That's what that was for.
Bottle.
That was for all of that. And it tastes so good. And the fan base that has just been destroyed by every single fan. Like, I have never seen a fan base attacked by so many different angles. I've never seen it. Liverpool fans, Man United fans, like bottom of the table fans, just attacking this fan base. Like, I've never seen just random clubs in Russia just ripping on Arsenal on TikTok because like their social team made a video on it. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's Arsenal, it's laughing." No. Now, what is everyone gonna do now? What does everyone do? Because clearly, this team has gotten to the mountaintop, and we still have a meaningful game to go. That's the weirdest part. It's like, I want to celebrate, but I know damn well in a week's time, I got to get ready to go for a Champions League final. So it's crazy how it all works. But this team has been through so much. And I want to go back to that 8-2 game. And I know everyone loves extreme butterfly effects. We did the extreme butterfly effects, I think, a couple months ago. And the extreme butterfly effect from that 8-2 game, you probably have no idea who some of these people are. But Arsene Wenger loses 8-2, spends $27 million before deadline day, and he spent on 2 transfers. 2 critical transfers that may not have helped us so much on the field, but in today's current Arsenal helped us so much. Per Mertesacker and Mikel Arteta became Arsenal men. Mertesacker, what he's done with Youth Academy, he's been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable with us. Saka, Wanyeri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Max Dowman, which, by the way, Max Dowman can't even practice with the team this week. He's got to take exams all week he's got to take the countrywide exams. He can't even train with the squad this week. That's crazy. That's another story. And then Mikel Arteta. Everyone has said Wenger built the Emirates. Arteta just turned the lights on, and it's 100% true. Because year after year, we had to sell our best players because we couldn't afford them because we had to spend so much money on a stadium. We watched Fabregas, Nasri, Clichy, Van Persie just walk out the door for essentially free. Essentially free. We didn't even get the best. We didn't get the most money out of it. We just watched those players walk. And then all of a sudden, we had our moments. We won a couple FA Cups. Fabian Ronaldo's not better than Messi. We had a couple of moments in there. And then all of a sudden, Arteta shows up. It was horrible at first, but we gave him time. As much as I hated Stan Kroenke, he read the room and says, "All right, I can't do this anymore. Josh, hop on in." Josh, stupid beard, by the way. Horrible beard. Nate, I think your beard's better. Like, it's stupid. Comes in, does so much for the club, gets things right. There's a video in the documentary where Arteta believes he's going to get sacked in that right moment. But Josh Kroenke says, "Hey, this is a tough moment we're in right now, but we got to get through it." And Arteta doesn't get sacked. That's probably that might be the biggest moment in club history right there in the last 20 years. Biggest moment right there. Anyway, to stop being long-winded here, it was just unbelievable what a job this man has done. I sat there like wondering in 2019, 2020, is this ever going to be fixed? Are we ever going to win anything? I truly thought that with all my teams because Michigan basketball, Michigan football, forget about it. But this team has brought me so much joy. I've never been so excited to see a trophy lift in my life. Michigan football, I've seen that. Michigan basketball, I've seen that. That has meant so much. But to see this club, where a country I've never even been to, a country where I've never stepped foot, don't know a single English person. All I know is the badge right here. That's all I know is the badge. That's all I know. And I've never been so excited in my life to see a trophy lift. Never been so excited in my life. I remember watching Michigan basketball winning. I was excited then too. But I will be so excited I will probably watch all pregame coverage on Sunday. I will probably wake up at 8 o'clock to watch full pregame coverage of everything leading up to it and probably everything after that. But man, I'm sorry, Nate. I had to get that one out there. I was long-winded.
No,
my
you're good.
apologies. I have waited 15 years for that. I've waited 15 years for that exact moment. And every youth soccer practice where I get made fun of because my team is so bad, and the Champions League nights where we sucked, and the Europa. I remember when we lost to Olympiacos. I remember all those nights. And they're like, "Ryan, your team sucks." That didn't really affect me, I guess. Like, I wasn't sad, but like, just thought, man, they're Liverpool fans. They're United. They're City fans. Like, how they get to enjoy that. When can I enjoy that? And finally, we're here. And I'll tell you something. Once you get the first one, and this isn't like, see, I'm still kind of scarred from the last championship of Jim Harbaugh, where like we win it and then it just goes downhill like immediately afterwards. But with Dusty May and Mikel Arteta, I don't think that's going to happen. And I'll tell you, when it comes to Arteta and Arsenal, once we get the first one in, everything, I think it's going to become easier for us. We're going to go a little bit free flowing, and now Pep's gone too. The league, which Pep Guardiola to the U.S. men's national team. More on that later. We'll do that next week. But once you get the first one, I think the floodgates are going to open, and I think we're going to see more and more silverware year in, year out. Just happy, man. I'm just happy. Water's never tasted so good in my life. It's just been unreal. It's been unreal. And the fact that we didn't do it, we didn't bottle it.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, it can set up everything for the future of what this club can be when you finally get over the hump and win that championship, that elusive championship that for whatever reason you just couldn't get done. And, yes, definitely for you and also for everybody else that's loved this club for as long as they have, because they've had to face the criticism. And again, from everybody else in and around those spaces. No, you're good on being long-winded. That's why I came into the segment. I'm like, I'm just going to kind of sit back and let you do your thing here, because it is an emotional release in a lot of ways. And, it could usher in a new era of Arsenal. And that's the part of this whole thing. It is lining up perfectly with Pep leaving Man City.
To
now, if we want to switch this over to the Arsenal or the Man City conversation, rather, they have never been more vulnerable.
I know.
In a long time as they are now. So this is, does it open up the Premier League? Does it open up the door for a new dynasty, a new team at the top of the table who runs things and pulls those things off? Does it open up that door for someone like an Arsenal and Mikel Arteta? Because clearly he's proven that he can do it once. No reason to assume he can't win a double or go back and win the Premier League again. So that's what I think is really promising about all of this with Arsenal, is that now the door is open. I saw your video the other day on Aaron Rodgers. We don't have to get into that whole conversation, but the one thing you can certainly say was that when he left the NFC North, it opened the door for everybody else to be like, okay, well, this division is now this division. Yes, this division is up for grabs, right? So that is where we are. And so it's not just, yes, okay, Arsenal fans absolutely can celebrate this championship and enjoy it for what it is. And, like one day blends into another and you're up partying all night and all these other things. Cool. But more importantly, the door is now wide open. And we've talked about, will Man City still be what Man City was under Pep Guardiola without him there? I think they'll be successful, but it's really hard to convince me that just because you've promoted from within, that all of those systems and all of those things will stay in place and they'll still be just as dominant. I think there might be a new sheriff in town, but it's yet to be seen. It's yet to be seen.
It's like once you get that first one, and by the way, Fabian out here just rage baiting. He thinks that because Ronaldo's won the Saudi league that he's better than Messi. Has Ronaldo ever won the MLS Cup? I don't think so. I don't think Ronaldo's ever won an MLS Cup. He should try to come into the league and see what happens. Here, I'll say this real quick on the Pep to U.S. men's national team. I think he goes to Italy, but you got to make the call. I think because, look, I think Pep's going to take. I think again. We still have to. Pochettino still has to not be the manager to even get to this point. But what I'm saying is, I still think Poch is gone. I think Poch is gone in the fall after the World Cup. I think he is. And I think Pep Guardiola is going to take some time to himself, the same way that a lot of these managers do. Jurgen Klopp, another name. And Zidane, another name. I think you have to make that call, though. I think, regardless, because I still think he's going to Italy. I still think that in my heart. But you've got to make that call to Pep and just see where he thinks everything's going to go, what needs to be done. But I think you have got to make that call. So again, that's all I have to say on that part. But no, Premier League champions. I've probably annoyed my friends so many times with the amount of Arsenal edits and Arsenal videos I've made throughout the 21 Savage is posting like this on his Instagram. Like, it's insane. Spike Lee was at the game. Like, it's crazy about the amount of Arsenal celebrities and the Arsenal people that just follow this club. Like, how many times have we seen former players go out and celebrate with the fans after winning the title? I haven't seen that. Ian Wright's out there. He's with everyone. Yeah, let's go. This club is massive. I don't even care what anyone says about Manchester United. This is the biggest club in England. Arsenal's the biggest club in England. City didn't do this. United's never done this. Liverpool never did this. Chelsea doesn't do this. I have never seen former players go out, except Petr Cech did with Chelsea, but that was to get the fans away to stop protesting. No, I have never seen players do that. I've never seen a fan base congregate in the tens of thousands on a random Tuesday when their team didn't even play. Congregate and celebrate. This is the biggest club in England. I don't want to hear it anymore. That is the biggest club in England. Not these plastic fans. It's kind of ironic, not these plastic fans like Man City, Chelsea, and Man United have. No, real fans. Biggest club in England. Book it. Ooh, that was awesome. This is the greatest time to have a podcast for me personally. Michigan wins, Arsenal wins. Man, that's awesome. Woo. Now, if I can get a Michigan football win against Ohio State, that'd be pretty sick.
There you go. Certainly a popular one. But yeah, like I said, the door is open. And so for Arsenal, it's just at this point, they need to realize that, hey, if there is ever a time, this is our time to take over. This is our time to really put the foot on the gas and do everything we can to make the Premier League and just really establish ourselves atop of the standing. So I certainly think they can do that. Let's take a break here on Inside the Game. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the U.S. men's national team and Chris Richards. I saw a post. All of us did see a post yesterday talking about torn ligaments, but something might have gotten lost in translation here. So we'll talk about that and what that means. It's actually good news at the end of the day. Also, we got Neil Rule coming up at 10:15. We'll talk about the USL 2 a little bit with him and that match of the week coming up this weekend. A couple of really exciting ones on Sports Engine Play. And if we have a little bit of time, maybe we'll get to some of your comments. I know we've had a ton of them on some of our recent videos, but all that and more coming up next here on 292 of Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Inside the Game rolls along here on the National Soccer Network. 292. It's something just hit the building over there.
No, just
what are you jumping around for?
Hopefully everyone's all right.
Oh, sirens. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Shocked me. That scared me there for a second. I was like, "What's going on?"
As long as it's not for you. This is not like a fire alarm siren or something.
No, if there was a fire alarm in here, you would hear it most likely. I would imagine you would hear it because it's loud. Even I I remember there was a show we did like a minute before the show, and the fire alarms were going off. And they're like,
Yes,
oh,
I do remember that.
We're just testing them, and I was like, what?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that heart attack. But let's get into this next topic here in hour number 1. Get about 25 minutes out from Neil Rule joining us, so we'll talk to him when he gets on here about the USL2. But let's briefly talk about this. There are several differences. He's gonna keep bringing that up, man. Yeah, I get it. And it's funny because very quickly before we get into this, I actually know a couple of Man City fans myself in some of the areas that I work in, and I'll make sure to mention it to them. Even a Chelsea fan mixed in there as well, but no Arsenal fans. So they scoff at the idea of being an Arsenal fan. So I'll make sure that I show them this show and that segment and get their opinions on everything that's going on, man. It's not one victory lap. Ryan's taking a victory mile right now, but it's okay. I'm going to let him do it, right?
I've taken too much crap for this over the years. Damn it, I'm gonna milk it as much as I can.
Same
in the next
about
week, and
Michigan.
Oh my God, if we win the Champions League, dude, this is.
Yeah.
I'll probably mention it once a show.
Same feeling as. I mean, for me, Michigan football, and then obviously the Cubs in 2016, it had the same. But also we had people jumping on bandwagons too, and so that it's always just it bothers the hell out of me. But it is what it is.
My neighbor told me he was down in Ann Arbor. This is what this feels like. It felt like the first Michigan-Ohio State win, 2021. My neighbor was down there, and he said that they just couldn't move cars for hours because the amount of people just running around, like jumping off of the cars, and like no one's mad. They're just celebrating on top of poles, and it's snowing, and like everyone's like, "Let's leave! It's a snow." Nope, no one wanted to. No one wanted to. No one wanted to leave. This is what this feels like. Feels like this.
All I'm gonna say, they're gonna start calling Arsenal a fake fan base if y'all rattle off a few more.
Yeah, I'll show them everything I've witnessed. And
then here comes Wrexham, and people are gonna be like, "Well, that's
Arsenal
the most authentic fan base in the world." And Arsenal, they're just a bunch of bandwagoners. They just like their team because they're good. So I'm just saying that's coming up. Be careful what you ask for.
Speaking of Wrexham and Michigan football, it's going to be a parallel here. Southampton, who is in the EFL Championship final, got kicked out of it because they sent a scout to scout all the other teams' training sessions, and it got found out, and then they got booted. They got a worse punishment than Michigan football did.
Wow.
Yeah, they got kicked out of they got kicked out of the richest game of football, which is the championship final, the playoff final, because they sent a scout to go to the training sessions and spy on the other teams, which that's a worse punishment than the Wolverines got. That's so awesome.
Yeah, far worse. Interesting.
Oh, that's so awesome.
We'll make sure we touch on that. That's wow. That's that's coming down hard for sure. But getting into this next topic, there are several differences between American English and European English. For example, I will hear Ryan oftentimes go, Arsenal are champions, or, Arsenal are something, which, in Europe is correct. But in American English, normally we would use is, right? Because Arsenal is a single entity, which means is singular, right? So of course, there are different ways of measuring things, different metrics, different names for sports, clearly, right? Like every video I post up on our social media, they're going to be like, it's not soccer, it's called football. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I'm so prim and proper.
But there are things called, that apparently
pop, soda,
in European
soda pop.
English, there you go. But in European English, a tear is not something that actually requires surgery. A tear is what we call a sprain here in the U.S. Now, obviously, if you sprain a muscle, there are micro tears in the muscle, which I guess. But when I hear tear, I'm thinking like totally, completely torn or partially torn. In other words, if you have like an ACL tear or an MCL or PCL or UCL, those are things you have to go in and do surgery on. When I heard that yesterday that Chris Richards had, quote, 2 torn ligaments in his ankle, I thought that meant he's done for the World Cup. I thought that meant surgery. I thought he was over. I think every American that maybe read that initially was like freaking the hell out because they're like, oh, okay, so he's done. Well, no, it actually turns out that they get lost in translation. It's still just sprained. Does it reduce my concern level? Yes. However, it's still a little concerning because if he re-injures it in one of the upcoming matches, they say he could be go for as soon as their next match. Where does that leave the U.S. men's national team?
Cooked.
Chris Richards is not in the picture. That's what we talked about during the last episode that we were on here. They would be done for because they don't have anybody else really, in my opinion, that could easily slot in for Chris Richards in that position on the field. We don't have a lot of backs in general. So who are we going to put in that position? Center back. I don't know if we have anybody. It doesn't leave us a lot, if any, options. And what's funny to me is that we've always banged the drum on this show about our depth and how our depth is at a place that it's never been before. Maybe in some areas, I think we have more wingers and more available options in terms of the midfield is pretty strong. Obviously, striker, we've a lot of different conversations on who we should have at striker. And obviously, Flo Balogun has cemented his spot there. But in the position group of that Chris Richards is in, we don't have a lot, if any, options. And when we say backbone when it comes to Chris Richards, that means a couple of different things. Obviously, because of what he provides on the field and, the way that he plays and everything. But I even said this to you the last time we talked about it. No one has shown me more consistency on this U.S. men's national team in terms of being available, in terms of leading, in terms of coming up big in big moments. He scored against Mexico, that early goal. I mean, he did his part in trying to win them that Gold Cup. There has been no one that, in terms of from a leadership perspective, has inspired me or inspired anybody else more than that of Chris Richards. We've had others that have stepped up and have been involved, but I don't want to compare different U.S. men's national team players this close to the World Cup, but if you're going to yank my arm and force me to, Chris Richards, I think from a talent perspective, I would say it's probably Weston McKennie that's the most important player to play at the top of his game.
I'd agree with that.
But outside of that, I would say it's Chris Richards. He needs to be the anchor of this U.S. men's national team. And if he's not at 100%, forget not being available. Sometimes not even being at 100% can be something that affects a player. That's what concerns me the most. But no, Christian Pulisic is not the most important player on this team. And in my personal opinion, now he could find, I realize he just recently assisted, maybe he's back to feeling more like himself. Cause I know that we've heard a lot from that camp that he's just not being himself right now, that he's a little emotional about the fact that he's had these injuries and that he's been out. But it goes Weston McKennie and in the levels of importance, it goes Weston being the best that he can be. And then after that, it comes Chris Richards. And so it was more of the initial shock of reading that tweet and being like, oh man, like, okay, this is bad. Like I knew that it was obviously not great that he's going through this, but you read tear and you're like, okay, that's surgery. He's done for.
He's cooked.
And obviously we lost out on Noah Kai Banks, lost out on, some of these other dual nats that probably could have helped us here. We need him. But to those USA fans that are out there watching our show and listening right now, it's okay. It's all right. Take a deep breath. It is not a tear. It is not a clean tear. However, it is a sprain, which obviously can be complicated by playing on it more. And when you talk about the sprint or the marathon, it more of a sprint, especially in the group stage that the World Cup can be, that's where my area of concern comes in for someone like Chris Richards.
Yeah, it's weird how sometimes, they speak the same language, they say the same words, but, certain things just, don't fit well. Fabian, is Diego Luna trash? Weren't they promoting him crazy because he didn't go to Mexico? I personally don't like Diego Luna. Great story and everything. He's been promoted crazy on, all the U.S. men's national team World Cup commercials, all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, he's been all over. He's been like Christian Roldan, to be honest with you. Not the best player, but he's been in the public eye a lot.
The image of Diego Luna bleeding out of his nose and like running to the to the touchline to get like I'm assuming it was like probably a tampon or something up in there, because that's typically what you do when you're bleeding from your face, in order to go back out and continue to play. That image of him doing that, I think, sticks in a lot of men's national team fans' minds, because keep in mind that was during the time that Pulisic and everybody of the sort was like, no, we don't want to play in the Gold Cup. We're good. We're going to go do our own thing. So that's I think a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself personally, because I know you guys get on me and my love for Diego Luna a lot, but I think it was more of like I want him to succeed. I want him to be at that level so that he can be a part of this. Does it mean that he is? No. I mean, I think he needs to, if he can find his way into Europe, that's where it needs to be for Diego Luna. But I mean, he's fun, he's exciting. Always hold on to those 2 goals against Guatemala that he had. But no, is he a game changer? No, I don't think so, Fabian. Personally.
So back to the Chris Richards thing. He's not going to play this weekend against the Premier League champions. He's not going to play against the Premier League champions on Sunday. They're not going to play against the Premier League champs. I'll tell you that right now. He's too scared. No. But he's 50-50.
Yeah.
This is where I got I got confused for a second before I saw it on Twitter, because I'm like, ligaments, but he's 50-50 to play in a week's time in the Conference League final. That doesn't make sense. Like that was confusing to me. But obviously someone on Twitter, broke it down and was like, well, English people like to say torn ligaments as a sprain. So that's where it like got me going on that one. I was like, what the heck? That doesn't make sense. If you tore a ligament, you're cooked, man. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
But no, Chris Richards, I said it, last weekend, because we got to play 3 at the back. You could call 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, but we need to have 3 center backs out there. And with Chris Richards not out there, that's a big issue. That is a massive issue if Chris Richards does not play. Because if I look at a level of importance, and I think you're 100% right, I think it goes McKennie, and then it goes Chris Richards, and then I think I can comfortably say Christian Pulisic, which is crazy to say because Pulisic on paper should be our best player. Like on paper and based on narratives and based on storylines, because this whole I don't want to say a golden generation, but some people have coined it that, this whole new wave of Americans going to Europe and playing in these games have all started because of Christian Pulisic. Because without Christian Pulisic, we don't have McKennie. We don't have all these players going over there, if that makes sense. We don't have a Matthias Albert. We don't have a Kevin Sullivan eventually going over there. A Xavier Gaza who hopefully wants to get there and hopes he can get there. Julian Hall, more names. But that's what it means. It's so crazy to say that because he's the guy. He is the main guy that got it done. He's the main guy that kind of set the standard, the new wave of doing it all, the LeBron James of soccer. As they coined them, which still makes 0 sense to me anyway. But yeah, no, I think without him, I would say we're hashtag cooked. I would say without him because of the importance he has. Because yes, Landon Donovan did play in Europe, which Landon Donovan did talk about yesterday on his podcast. He's like, it's a good thing that he walked on his own power, and that was before the whole ligament thing came out. He goes, he walked on his own. That's a very good sign just from experience, which I will take Landon Donovan's word for that because I feel like he's played through a lot of injuries. But he's able to walk on his own power. Look, a majority of these players, it's like NFL playoffs, NBA playoffs. These players aren't fully healthy. These players are not fully healthy. Fabian says we should use Kobe instead of LeBron for Christian Pulisic. The Kobe Bryant of soccer? I guess so. But when it comes to
Kobe was born in Italy, he wasn't born in the U.S. Wasn't Pulisic born?
That is right. I forgot about that.
Wasn't Pulisic born? Pulisic was born in Pennsylvania, here, was he?
But he plays it.
Oh wait, no, but his dad played. Never mind. Okay, yeah, his dad played overseas.
But when it comes to gosh, where was I going with this? We got off topic for a second. Where was I? I had the point, and I forgot it for a second. Yeah, wow. Brian was probably going to spit ball there, but clearly he forgot on what he was going to say. So yeah, that's not very good.
I mean, we're talking levels of importance with McKennie, and then
I completely forgot.
Richards,
completely forgot about it.
And you were talking about Pulisic inspiring the next generation of players.
Yeah, no, and I forgot it.
Going overseas and completely lost it. Okay,
yeah, clearly it didn't matter that much. Oh, this is what I was going to say. It's like the
All
NBA
right.
and the NFL playoffs. These players are not fully healthy in the playoffs. They aren't, because they just endured a sometimes 16, 17 game season, 82 game season, whatever it is. If you're LeBron, typically a 50 game season because he doesn't play much. But these players are not healthy. They're not healthy. And going into the World Cup, these players are not going to be healthy. But Kyle Saka is going to be in the World Cup, and he's got a partial ligament tear in he's dealing with an Achilles injury, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about, because, like, if you have an Achilles injury compared to an ankle, that's night and day, basically, in terms of timetable and everything. But that's what I'm talking about. These players are not fully healthy. We're not going to – I asked this, obviously, back in the fall. Are we going to have a healthy Christian Pulisic? I don't think so. Now we know we're not going to have a healthy Chris Richards. But let's not kid ourselves that these nations also aren't going to have fully healthy players. France won't.
Right.
England won't. Spain won't. These players aren't going to be fully healthy. So that's going to be something to monitor, and especially adding on the extra game, if you will, in the round of 32. So let's not kid ourselves and think that, we're the only nation that's battling injuries. No, every nation is going to be battling injuries. And, hey, that's the life of, playing a full season and then, boom, World Cup's here. So, everyone's battling injuries.
Let's take a break here on the show. When we come back, I'll find a couple of comments on our social media. We can talk about everything that you guys have been mentioning to us under our videos. It's always fun getting to engage with those comments. And then again at 10:15, Neil Rule planning on joining us again, as he does every Friday, to talk about the USL2 game of the week on Sports Engine Play coming up this weekend. But first, Barca Academy is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30. Again, that's FCB30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I see my son grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca camp.
In Barca camp, I see my son grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca camp.
Back live and inside the game, number 292 here on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler joined alongside Ryan Glinsky. Again, we got Neil Rule coming up in about 6 minutes here. I know we want to touch on comments, but based off of Ryan's face, I know we got some live comments that just came in because he's cackling over there. Did Fabian say something else ridiculous?
No, Fabian's just talking about Real Madrid. Looks like they just signed Bastoni. Ronaldo winning 4 different league titles. One of them really doesn't count. A couple of Real Madrid players didn't get called up to the World Cup, like Trent and Camavinga. I did see Camavinga didn't get there, which, by the way, you can make like what is it? You could make like a B team of France players that did not make the World Cup, and they probably would still make the quarterfinals. Like, that's how deep they are. They're so good. And then Trent didn't get called up. I didn't even see the England squad. I know Saka was there. Which, by the way, I think it's so cool how some of these nations do like their World Cup reveals. Like for Brazil, like the entire city shut down. Or not city, the whole country like shut down just to hear Carlo Ancelotti read off names. It's almost like the NFL draft and the NBA draft. But like
that's crazy.
It's just for a nation. Okay, so Eze is playing in it. Declan Rice. Okay, Madueke, Saka. No Trent. That is crazy. Did not think who's going to be the number one. Pickford probably. Pickford will probably be the number one goal. Jordan Henderson made it. What has he done? Jordan Henderson. Ivan Toney. What is England doing? England. That is some questionable picks. Ivan Toney and Jordan Henderson. Kobe Manu. He's barely played. All right, that's gonna get a lot of. Yep, I can already tell. English people are going to be really pissed at that. It almost feels like, Nate, like if our like world basketball team, like Team USA, like, what do you mean James Harden didn't make it? Kawhi didn't make it? Like, that's what it feels like. But, man, those are some questionable picks right there.
So, Ivan Toney made it. Well, so Ivan Toney's in the Saudi Pro League too. I didn't realize that he's
he almost got in trouble for betting from the Premier League. I think that's why he's That's why he's.
Okay.
That's why he's.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's suspended 8 months back in. So he's technically allowed back, but he was suspended for 8 months from the English Football Federation after admitting to 232 breaches of its betting rules.
Oh Lord.
In addition, a month he's fined $50,000. Yeah. So he was banned for almost a year there because bro was betting.
Ugh. But
have
32 goals, 32 matches, 7 assists. I don't think they have.
But I get it. I understand why some do it. I understand it. It's because they're trying to make an extra buck. Maybe like most of them that make. See, I don't have an issue if a player bets on himself. Like if you're Pete Rose and it's like, yeah, I'm betting on myself to hit a home run. I don't see an issue with that because you're not throwing the game. Like if you were taking your under, if you were taking like, I'm going to go 0 for today, I'm not going to record a hit. Like that's something different. But I feel like if you're betting yourself, I mean, it's like normal culture now. So it's like, no one's like, it's like, right. Oh my God, a new bet just made its way. Like, oh crap, no way. So
right, no, I tend to agree. Yeah,
but no, that's
I think just betting in general, or like for example, if you're in a fantasy league, like you can't even do that. Like there are like repercussions for like, if you're any sort of money transaction for anything of the sort like that, you could get in some serious trouble. Or like like we saw with JMO, like betting on March Madness games, or Waymo, sorry, not JMO, Waymo, like betting on March Madness games, like that's we're gonna talk about character issues, because he put some money on March Madness. Like, well, we've never done that before. Like, I realize that's not the only thing that he's had troubles with, but like these are the things like that I think get a little ridiculous. Like, I understand they want to set a precedent, but also like, how do you avoid it too as a league? Like, there's no way of really safeguarding against this. Like, it's gonna happen regardless. Like, that's the part where it's like, okay, well, you crack down as much as you want, but these stories about betting and scandals are not going to stop. Like, it's going to keep happening. So, Anyways, what does that give us? I'm not sure. But anyways, is Neil here? Has Neil arrived?
He's not. I just want to get to this comment because it was funny yesterday when I made my Man City made us forget about true fan bases plastic. I brought Chelsea in there, and since the boys just came to a series finale, I just thought this was like, kind of icing on the cake here. This guy Mage Dation says, "Oi, what did Chelsea do to you, bro?" That's what Butcher sounds like. And I said 1000th game. I didn't even mention that in my breakdown of like why this means so much to me. The Arsene Wenger's 1000th game. We had, so to paint the picture, we lost 6-0 on the day. It was like 4-0 within like 10 minutes, it felt like. Then we had a red card. One player, Oxlade-Chamberlain, blocked it with his hand, but then, it was him. No, it was Gibbs. Kieran Gibbs blocked it with his hand, like to stop it from going in the net. So everyone's like, oh, it's a red card. That's a red card. But they got the red card wrong. Oxlade-Chamberlain went up to him and was like, hey, it was me, bro. It was me who got the red card. And the referee was like, red card. So it was like, and then you had Mourinho and Wenger fighting each other. It was horrible. But then he goes, let's see here. He goes, you know what? It's actually refreshing that you guys respond back. Congratulations and welcome back. We're still better, though. P.S. Roman never spent $1.1 billion in 6 years to get a title. Todd, us over for sure, but that's a different story. Yeah, Todd Bowley's got you guys cooked. Todd Bowley has currently messed you guys up big time when it comes to that. But hey, it's not my fault. It's not my fault who Roman Abramovich is friends with. It's not my fault. That's maybe the way that you guys got to your prominence is a little sketchy. I'm just saying, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that's what happened. What's your opinion on Mourinho versus Mbappe? We talked about it last week. I think it's going to be a clash of heads. I firmly believe that Mbappe is going to be gone in the middle of the season. I firmly believe that because based on the history of Mbappe and managers, I don't think he's going to last that long.
Yeah. No, and like I said, it is the most important part of when he gets into that room, how he commands the room. Like that is, if you sort that part out, you have a group of players at your club who can compete for championships. But if there is this, I mean, especially like we talked about, like the fighting in the locker room, like that stuff happens. But typically you don't get
send someone
people
to the hospital
exposing, right. And you don't get people coming out and like talking about it unless it's really something that they want the general public to know about because of just how bad it's gotten. Right. So that's the mess that's going to get, before we even talk about competing for anything, they got to get that mess sorted out before we even start having those conversations.
Yeah, they got to get a new president. Listen to this from E7 Osho. I got 3 people flying in for the Arsenal parade alone. We're not even done. We're just getting started. Yeah, that's what I feel like is going to happen when if the Lions ever win a Super Bowl, I feel like he's got to go. Like,
you're going to get people from all over the country.
What I witnessed in England, that's got to somewhat happen in the Super Bowl.
No, the amount of flights from Florida alone will be insurmountable. I mean, the amount of old Michigan, especially the automobile industry people that live down in Florida, like, yes, like it is going to be. Yeah! It's going to be a sea.
Lions!
It's going to be a sea of people. Like the city might actually burn down itself. Like there's an outside chance that the city might be on fire. So,
this is why I find our account so funny sometimes. I'll get to that question in a second, Fabian. This is from Keywing998. Shut the bleep up, you stupid American. Stick to American football, you bleep clown. All right.
Is that one of those hidden comments on TikTok? You had to click the
no, it's on Instagram. This is because I knew that I wanted to get to the oi.
All right.
Oi. I wanted to get to that one. So, jeez, dude, I've never read some of these Instagram comments. They are mean towards me. Oh, wow. Shut the bleep up, Yank. What do you know about football? Wow. What a load of bleeping nonsense coming from a Yank thousands of miles away. Thousands of them outside the Emirates are clearly 2026 Arsenal fans. That's just not true. Man, they are just hating on this. Wow, I haven't even gotten to TikTok. Man, I'm really getting a lot of heat. This is what happens. Wow, that's a mean word. I can't say that. I can't say that one either. Jeez. Yeah, we're
Probably
gonna
a
stay
few
off
of
the-
those.
We're going to stay off the Instagram comments for a second there. If Mbappe leaves, will he go to the EPL? I would like to think that, but I think no one's truly going to be able to afford this man. And Real Madrid's going to have to eat up a lot. Where I know I talked about him having to leave midway through the season, but I feel like if you're Real Madrid, you've got to find a way to make this work with Mbappe because you can't be spending all that money. You can't be spending all that money to not get anything out of it. Like, he's got to be able to play for you. Ryan, will you eat a 20-pack of White Castle if Arsenal wins the Champions League? I don't know if I could eat 20. I personally don't like White Castle.
I think you got it in you.
If you come up with something different, I'd maybe do it. I don't want to like White Castle. I'd rather eat something different. I don't know what I would eat, but I'd rather eat something than that.
Why is it White Castle? Is it
I don't know. I feel like
us
Fabian
to be
really
in
likes
pain?
White
Is
Castle. I don't think it's that good, to be honest.
I mean, it's fine, but give me even McDonald's. I mean, I know we mentioned McDonald's.
I would rather
times,
eat chicken nuggets from McDonald's.
There you go. Yeah, a little chicken nugget challenge. I get it.
Yeah, I'd rather have chicken nuggets.
Here's a good comment on TikTok, by the way, from the Tough Pill. Chelsea is like my ex, always crying for attention.
That is true. That is very Chelsea-like. That is very true. If Mbappe wins the World Cup, does he have a legit chance on winning the Ballon d'Or? Probably not. He really had the Real Madrid thing definitely hurts him. That's crazy, man.
Odie says, can't stand a Yankee speaking on football. Go watch Giselle's husband score a touchdown. Well, Odie, he doesn't play anymore. He's retired. So
he was in the flag football thing. Maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, the flag football. Yeah, okay. Yes, absolutely. Damie says, don't include Chelsea. You are shallow. He doesn't like the fact that you mentioned them in there.
Okay. That's weird.
So, wow, for a Yank, he is absolutely spot on. There
wow.
you go. You're getting a comment. There you go.
I got a positive one. Typically, I don't get positive ones.
Never saw a Chelsea fan, and I don't know if that's like slang or something, calling him Chelsea as opposed to
Maybe
Chelsea.
He's Polish.
Before Abramovich, never saw a City fan before the Saudis.
That is true. That is true. That is very true.
You're getting a little bit of love for the other end of the aisle.
We'll
just read off. We'll read off a few more as we go here. I know we're planning on talking to Neil Rule. If we need to, we can also take a break and get into the remainder of our conversation here. I know we wanted to chat a little bit. I mean, just general things about the World Cup coming up. I mean, we are like that close. We're going to be now announcing our roster here soon. Also a few other things to touch on. Yeah, next week in New York, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's New York. I think 3:00 on Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know.
Another comment from JT Riley goes, Arsenal and the New York Knicks are going to win a championship at the same time. It is truly dark times. JT,
Spike Lee's going to have one heck of a sports year. I don't see the Knicks.
There are these teams. No, they called the Spurs and the Thunder, and I don't think anyone is beating those two.
Fabian, I could get behind a Wendy's 3 spicy chicken sandwiches. I mean, if I were to do, I would have to do it on a TikTok live though, because Wendy's, like these fast food joints, aren't open with their actual food until after the show. So I'd have to do a TikTok live because I don't really want to reheat it. I would do a mukbang. If they honestly do, I might just do it because I like Wendy's. I like their spicy chicken sandwiches. So yeah, I would do it.
I do. I love a little bit of a trust issues with Wendy's simply because they got violently ill the last time. However,
let's see.
Patrick says Arsenal is the largest fan base in the world. Is that true? By numbers?
I mean, I would imagine.
I mean, I'm reading Madrid and Barcelona have the largest fan bases in the world, generally speaking.
Man United's probably bigger.
Man United, you got PSG on there also, top 4.
No, PSG definitely not. PSG can't.
No,
they're all plastic as well.
Okay. All right.
See, I feel like you can't really look at a stat. Like I feel like you can't look at like a number stat because
how do you? Yeah,
I don't know how you gauge that because I have seen Real Madrid, Barcelona, United, PSG, Liverpool, City, Juventus. Because I'm just going off AI here. It says Arsenal's 10, but I have seen all the 9 top clubs win stuff. Yet they've never had that same reciprocation towards the team that Arsenal did. So I can't really tell who's got the biggest fan base. I would assume Real Madrid or Manchester United, Barcelona. I feel like those are probably the better ones. But Chelsea, there's no way. Liverpool, I feel like Liverpool is such like a Liverpool thing, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, you got Neil, who's a Liverpool fan. You got Jaxa, and then you got my cousin, and then you got Tyrins. Yeah, Tyrins. Tyler Tyrins. Also a Liverpool fan. But it feels like Liverpool, for the most part, is like a very Liverpool. It's a very regional thing, I guess, if that makes sense. If you get what I'm putting down there. Like, it's kind of a regional thing. Whereas, like, Arsenal, City, United, and those other ones are very global. So,
Arsenal, Kipak says Arsenal wins a title, and all their fans want to do is talk about City. Rent free, man. Rent free. Rent, don't do it. Because it's all right, he did it again, man. His Man City bottle.
yeah.
By the way, did you put that sticker, did you put that wrap on the bottle yourself?
Yeah.
Are there actual Man City? Okay,
it's a
all right,
smart
that
water.
looks believable. Oh,
Smart
okay.
water.
It looks believable the way that it's on there. I'm like, I would have bought it. Man City branded bottles of water.
No,
now.
it's what they did
smart
with all
water.
the
All right.
Arsenal stuff. Is they just put logos on bottles.
That's wall bottles. Oh, all right.
right.
Let's take a break. I know we're waiting for Neil here. But we'll continue the conversation on the other side, even if not. Let's talk a little World Cup, and first, let's tell you about Man City Soccer Camps, a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at usacamps.mancity.com. We're back in live here at 292 of Inside the Game here on the National Soccer Network. By the way, just some house cleaning stuff. Monday, we will not be on. Tuesday, Ryan will be back on. However, he will be joined by our good friend Tanner White, who calls the Major League Indoor Soccer games. He's also, made many appearances here on the show talking about the MLIS and other assorted things. So he will be doing that with him, and I'll be back on Wednesday. But again, no show on Monday, so just wanted to let you guys know about that. But let's talk a little bit about these games of the week, Ryan. I think, obviously this has been something that we've been doing here at Sports Engine on Sports Engine Play here through the National Soccer Network. I got to do the Pittsburgh Riveter games against FC Buffalo with Neil Rule. That was a 5-0 shutout. That's why I said that Pittsburgh is a team that certainly is one to not be messed with this year. They could certainly be in the conversation to go win a championship. I know they got to the postseason last year, but just some injuries that really derailed that team. But we got two different matchups coming up this weekend. We got Minnesota Aurora trying to keep that regular season unbeaten streak alive. 48 straight regular season matches. Are you kidding? Like that is unheard of. And so they are, I guess, Forward Madison is the team that they will be playing in that one. It is at Forward Madison, which,
Rally
by
Madison.
the way, I've heard, or Rally Madison.
So fun story.
Is that NWSL? Did I get that mixed up?
Forward Madison is the men's team in League One that Flint played in the U.S. Open Cup. So I got a cool story about that.
Okay.
So I got a cool story. Obviously, this is their first year with the club, or within the league, I should say, Rally Madison. And it's actually a fun story. I was talking with the USL League One coach of Forward Madison before they played Flint, and he was like, he looked exhausted, he looked tired, and I was like, what's up, my man? He's like, so obviously, here in Wisconsin, we have so much snow all the time and everything that we have to be on the road for so long because of they're building our stadium. So the stadium has not really been used ever. And I know you put in the question, how do they match, Minnesota United, or not Minnesota United, Minnesota Aurora? How do they do all that? Well, I think the thing that you match it with is having the first game ever in club history, and you also have a home opener of a stadium. I think that's how you match it. It feels like that's the perfect storm when it comes to these teams. So obviously, only Rally Madison has only played in a preseason friendly. This will be their, I believe, first game of the season. No, they didn't. They played against River Light on Wednesday. So that's how you combat that, is you put the home opener of a season for a new club. That's how you combat all that energy and try to upset Aurora FC. That's how you do it. There, I'm like, Neil.
Yeah, and if anything, you have a team that's entering the match that doesn't really know any better, going up against a team like Minnesota Aurora. They haven't had to face them before. They haven't had to go up against that team, and you're playing at home, and you're playing in front of a raucous crowd. I mean, this had, in so many ways, it was like the Pittsburgh Riveters. I mean, it had a win written all over it because that, I forget what it's called now, F&B Stadium. It used to be Highmark Stadium. Was just packed out. I mean, it was just a raucous environment. Both Neil and I couldn't stop talking about it because it really was. So they could use that. And there is something to be said about a team that, again, is going into a matchup just being like, hey, it's game number one. Let's just go play free and easy. Whereas Minnesota Aurora, there are expectations on this club. You look at any of the top 5 power rankings in the USLW, and you are going to see at least 3 teams in that. North Carolina Courage, for obvious reasons. They've created a level of consistency. They'll probably get back to a championship. Utah United and what they did. And then beyond that point, it's Minnesota Aurora and more Minnesota Aurora.
Yeah,
look at, just position group. I know. Well, in their midfield, they call it the engine room. And that's my favorite nickname for a position group of any team, because they really do control things. So, can they weather that early relentless offensive push, that storm that Minnesota Aurora has been so good at? And they're an aggressive squad, man. They play the ball over top. They're really effective in the attacking third. So how do they navigate around all that? Like that's yet to be seen. That is the part about this matchup that really kind of strikes me the most, is how can they get around that? Of course, on the other side, we talk about big time matchups in terms of teams that have, and this is the nice thing about this game of the week that we have. It really does kind of remind you of like the prime time games and like the big American pro leagues. Like these are the brands in this league that we are showcasing every weekend. That's why, to the people watching right now, like these are the ones that you have to pay attention to. If you want to see, the outlook of this season, especially here in the early parts of it, you got to watch these matchups. The other one being Peoria City and Des Moines Menace.
That's a sick name.
Yeah, Des Moines is, it's really good. But arguably, I'd say probably one of the most decorated teams in USL2 history with what they did. One of the most formidable opponents, hosting a giant like Des Moines. And I think if we're talking about favorites in these matchups, the underdog in both situations, USLW and USL2, will be the home team. So Peoria City hosting Des Moines Menace. I don't know, any initial takeaways from this matchup at all on your side, Ryan?
No, it's the initial takeaway is you're looking at the top two teams in a Great Plains division, where a year ago these two teams separated themselves amongst the rest of the pack. Like the third place team, Sunflower State, they had 14 points. Peoria was in second, had 25, and Des Moines had 31, and they finished first. So these two teams in the USL2, how good have they been? I mean, one loss a year ago for Des Moines, 3 for only Peoria. So there's a little bit of, I'm sure some, I don't want to say bad, I would say a little bit of bad blood from Peoria's side because of like, we want to come on top, and and clearly there are two teams that are separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And I think when you look into who wins the Great Lakes division, this game really, Nate, has playoff implications all over the place because the winner of the division, gets a favorable draw. In theory, a favorable draw compared to the other team. I know that always doesn't work out the way it does. I know that doesn't work out all the time, but there is real playoff implications this early into the season. This is the third weekend, I think, and these teams, I think, have only played like one game or something like that. So there are early playoff implications, and that's why the USL2 is so awesome. Like this isn't college football where you're Michigan and you get to play against Central Michigan and you get to a little bit of a tune-up game. No, you get thrown right into the Wolves, and you've got to survive, get yourself out of it. So real playoff implications in this game. In reality, Nate, all these games are true. There's really true playoff implications every single game in the USL2 and USLW. You play 12 games, maybe 14, maybe 10. But realistically, every game means so much because if you slip up in the beginning, you don't really have that time to make up for that and try to get back into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you lose one loss to this team. Now you're going to face them twice, right? So there's always that, that addition. And I said this about FC Buffalo when they fell to Pittsburgh. I'm like, you get them at the end of the year. Literally the last game on their schedule is Pittsburgh. So if you're in the fight, there's an outside chance you could be competing for a title at the very end against that same team you just lost to. But again, the importance of this match being at home for Peoria cannot be understated. And it's because of, you can really draw a parallel between the way that Minnesota Aurora likes to attack and Des Moines Menace likes to attack. If they can create an end-to-end track meet style match, it plays right into their hand. I don't care that they're on the road and that they're in a tough environment. And the truth is that these squads have played in tough environments. You don't win 48 straight regular season games and not know how to play on the road. Like, that is clearly something that they understand how to do. But Des Moines is much similar to that of what we see on the other side of the aisle in Minnesota Aurora. I mean, this is all going to be on Peoria's midfield to settle the ball quickly, establish a possession-based game and a rhythm, and not get sucked into the identity that is Des Moines, which is that playing fast. And we've seen that. We've seen teams like FC Buffalo, like I said, in the USLW, that kind of gave into that, and that's where you get hurt. That's where you really kind of get destroyed. So an unbelievable opportunity to have a home crowd and playing in front of them. And obviously on the other side for Des Moines Menace, like, historically speaking, you have to silence that crowd as quickly as possible. And if you're asking me, who has, in terms of player to player, talent-wise, the best ability to put pressure on and score early goals, that's Des Moines in the way that they've proven themselves. But you're right. I mean, the hype around these games and hitting the ground running the way that we do, it is unbelievably refreshing to open a season with some of the storylines that we see when it comes to these teams. Like you said, typically that is not something we open the year with. That is something maybe you see at the end of the season. Typically, at least in American college sports, you open up your season against Panera Bread, and then you finish your season against the teams that actually matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
that's not how this works in the USL2 and the USLW. So anyways, outstanding matchups coming up this weekend. You just got a little preview from Ryan and myself in terms of what you're going to see in those matchups. Make sure you lock in Sports Engine Play through the National Soccer Network. We'll be giving you guys full coverage of all that whole season. You're right. And we got obviously Flint City Bucks, Midwest United. So, I mean, if there's a team that you follow, pretty good chance that we're covering them here this summer.
So Flint City had a kids' day. Looked like Whitecaps had a kids' day. Can you do the scuba again for us? Yeah, I saw that video. That video was funny. Just all over the place. And when the kids do the scuba, you got to do the scuba too. So, like, it's funny that your broadcast partner is just kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden you're in the back.
Well, he had no idea. He didn't know what the scuba was. And now keep in mind, he's
probably a little bit of
his 40s.
an
He
age
has
gap.
a younger daughter. Yeah, exactly. But no, they were doing it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is funny, whatever. And then they cut to our booth because that wasn't just on the TV broadcast. That was on the main TV major video
the
board
Jumbotron?
at the stadium. Yes. Yeah. So sometimes we'll take a cut of our booth. And so it's on the Jumbotron. And so when I hit him with one of these, dude, the kids went maniacal. I mean, they lost their mind. I've never heard, I have heard that stadium like that loud, only a handful of times.
So
they freaking went wild. I've never gotten a reaction like that in my life. That was the best part. And I couldn't really show that in the clip because for whatever reason it didn't take crowd sound when it happened.
Yeah.
But my God, yeah, they lost their damn minds. And I was loving it. I was loving all of it. Didn't love an 11 a.m. baseball game. That kind of sucks, but everything else outside of that was pretty great.
Real quick. If you haven't hit the like button already, a lot of you guys have tuned in. Appreciate you guys taking the time, commenting on the show as well. Appreciate all you guys that have tuned in. So John and I did a Flint City Bucks game on Friday, right in the morning. So it was a kids game. So it was like at 11 o'clock or something. And Flint City scores, and one of their players, I couldn't tell exactly which one did it, but they scored the first goal. Literally, I think it took 54 seconds before they scored their first goal. Everyone's going crazy. All of a sudden, one of the Flint players start doing this. 6-7, 6-7, right in front of the crowds, and the kids like, 6-7. And then we got to the 67th minute, and no one responded. Like, I'm like, man, they probably don't know we're in the 67th minute yet. Like, if I was the PA announcer, I would have been like, we have entered the 67th minute. 6-7, and the kid's like, but no, because that's why the Oakland clip when John and I forgot the other guy who did the Oakland game, Kibby was the PA announcer, and he's like 6-7, and like I was there briefly. I was there for probably like 30 minutes of the Oakland game, and I remember Kibby like every 2 seconds, like he would announce it and be like, checking into the game, so and so 6-7, and like all the guys like 6-7, like it was. So like I really thought Kibby did a really good job of playing into it. So like when it got into like, did the PA announcer be like, all right, folks, we are entering the 6th now into the 7th inning? Like, did the PA announcer do that at all?
Oh no! I mean, if it comes up naturally, I guess there's an opportunity to do that. I don't really. His name's Michael. I don't know if he has. I'm sure he's done something of the sort, but clearly they knew that to play the scuba music the other day, and that brought the place to its feet. But no, a brilliant move by Kibby. And I remember that video that went like
millions
mega
of views.
viral on. That's what I'm saying, mega viral on social media. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, naturally, right? And then I remember listening to the broadcast. Actually, John Vicari, who is one of the play-by-play voices for the Great Lakes Loons, oddly enough, was on that broadcast with JT. And I remember Vicari bringing it up too, because I know that JT was like confused at first. He didn't know what the heck was going on. And so Vicari was like, oh, it's a 6-7. And then they obviously got all the camera shots of the kids doing it.
There was, so
Kids
Dave says, what if you hit
weird,
them
man.
with a 6-7? The kids like, oh my God, 6-7. Like, I remember as a kid in middle school, the main thing for us was 21. So whenever in math class, because like it was, what's 9 plus 10? 21. You stupid.
You stupid.
No, you're not. But like that was the thing when I was in middle school was 21. So like every time math class, like the teacher, like the problem might come out to 20, and the answer might come out to 21, or like what 21 has this, and everyone's like 21. So that's basically what the 6-7 was. Like the 6-7 of my generation, I guess. I know I'm not old, but like I'm 23, but I feel old. But like that was my 6-7. So like basically, if you were to tell middle school me or like middle school my class, like 21, that's basically what the 6-7 is. If you were to hit the kids with the 6-7, the kids are like, oh my God, 6-7. Oh, that's insane. And then, so I just searched up Matt Kibby's video. It has 4.4 million views. 4.4 million views. and then he has 551,000 likes. Like, that's insane. By the way, Dave, I did see your tweet. That's hilarious, my man. But yeah, no. So you know the whole Southampton thing.
Yep.
So he added me on this tweet. He says, breaking news: Southampton to face Celtic in the final of Britain's biggest cheats for the VAR Cup. Odds: Southampton 4-1, Celtic 1-4. No extra time, but no limit to added on time if Celtic are losing in the 90 minutes. That's great. That's great. That's great.
That's a
Dave.
good one. I like that.
That's a great tweet. But yeah, no, if you hit them with the 6-7, man, they'll like, I don't know. It's insane.
They lose their, like I said, they lose their cookies. But I am here for it. I love it. I love the energy. Kids crack me up, man. I mean, I don't want to be, and I've actually considered like substitute teaching before. I don't know if you realize you don't even have to have a college degree to be a substitute teacher.
No, you just have to have
like
a
if you
GED.
have, yeah, and if you have like enough college credits, you automatically qualify, right?
Like, I can be a substitute teacher.
like,
Hey, John, I'm no
yes.
longer doing the show in the morning. I'm going to be a substitute teacher now.
He's gonna go mold young minds.
John, I'm no
Yeah,
longer
with
going to be
his-
on the show. I'm going to be a substitute teacher.
He's not gonna corrupt young minds through our show. He's gonna mold young minds.
Because I influence the youth.
by teaching. Yes, exactly.
John says the youth are in trouble now. If I'm
We need more teachers.
if I'm a
man.
teacher,
That's all
John
I'm
thinks the
saying.
youth are in trouble. So yeah, no.
I think they're already in trouble for whatever it's worth. But no, so I didn't realize like it was like they need teachers. You know, I realize they need teachers, but like substitute teachers. Anyways, there's a big need there. But I would never want to be in that position. But if I have to scuba once in a while to get a reaction out of a crowd, I will do so. I got no problem doing that. So yeah, but I wanted to read off a couple of comments. Unless you have something else you wanted to get to.
No.
No?
All I would say is shout out Jack Campbell. Shout out Jack Campbell for getting his
Oh,
extension.
yes.
That's really about all I
Yes.
have to say. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
we're like, coming to the end of the time here, but all I gotta say is shout out Jack Campbell for getting his extension. It was needed, and the only thing, my biggest takeaway from all of that is he should have been the first guy re-signed out of that historic draft class.
Yeah.
That's I mean,
Yeah.
Branch injury. I don't know how he's gonna come back. Achilles. Laporta had that scary spine injury. Jahmyr Gibbs. Hey, this is not a hot take, but I think he's got to prove that he's got to be the bell cow. He has to. Jahmyr Gibbs has to prove to himself and to the rest of the Lions organization that he can take on a full year before he gets that money. Paying running backs is like paying pitchers. It's a ticking time bomb because how long are they truly going to last? How long are they going to be? And at the top level too. Like Saquon Barkley, a little bit of an outlier when it comes to the running backs, but Gibbs, is he going to be able to withstand Is he going to withstand all the pressure and all the hits that he's going to mount up as the bell cow, the number one running back? Look, I like Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's a good number 2, but Gibbs the number 1. So I like that they prioritized Campbell over everyone else, and he deserves it. And now with Anzalone gone, obviously it's a big. Hey, look, linebackers are one of the most important. The linebacking core is one of the most important position groups in football. So him, Derek Barnes, and Jimmy Holder, Malcolm Rodriguez, hopefully those guys can live up to the billing and deliver a good season for us.
No, I absolutely agree. By the way, maybe on Monday or Tuesday we can talk about your Aaron Rodgers take.
Well,
man.
Tuesday.
That was a bold call.
Look,
Tuesday. Well, technically Wednesday for me, but maybe you and Tanner can talk about it on.
This is
on
what
that
I'll say
day.
about Aaron Rodgers. I've had to. Again, it's the same thing with school. I had to hear all the time about how great the Packers were and Aaron Rodgers. Hey, Aaron, is it solely the defense's fault for blowing a 19-7 lead in the second half, in the fourth quarter rather, against Seahawks? No. Hey, how many trips to the red zone did you have against the Bucs where you kicked field goals? Hey, Aaron, remember that time against the Bucs where you could have ran into the end zone and instead threw it into double coverage to Devontae Adams because you can't take a hit? I'm just saying. I don't even recall the Super Bowl that he won.
Yeah, well,
I vaguely remember him with a
this.
belt on. I vaguely remember with him like a WWE belt.
If he didn't have a Super Bowl championship ring, I would say he was something closer to like a James Harden type in the NFL, just because he has made everything always about himself everywhere that he's ever gone.
Always
that's
someone else's fault.
That's just who Aaron Rodgers is. And to be honest with you, I don't really like him as a guy. To be completely
No, he's
real
a
with
total
you. Like,
douchebag.
my guy cut off his family. Like he is yeah, there are a lot of things not to like about Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know if you went a little too far with your take. There might be some a little bit more
he's the
nuance
biggest
there.
what if QB, man. It's, well, what if he did this? What if he did this? At some point, Aaron, you're the same common denominator. And then all I remember was it 2019? Yeah, 2019 when they lost to the Niners, when he threw a couple picks to Richard Sherman. All you hear him on the sideline is, well, what if we get one at home? We just need to get one at home. We just need to get one at home. Hey, Aaron, you got one at home. Remember you threw a pick to Sean Murphy-Bunting? Shout out CMU. Sean Murphy-Bunting to end the half, and Tom Brady threw a bomb to Scotty Miller, and he scored a touchdown? That wouldn't have happened if you didn't throw that pick right there. Remember when you got one at home and you kicked field goals all the time? Will I say that was probably a major flop in Antonio Brown on the pass interference on the game? Yeah, I would agree with that. But just saying, Aaron, you had opportunities, and you got exactly what you wanted. And guess what? Didn't happen. And you're not going to win a Super Bowl this year with the Steelers. So, biggest what if QB right there, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Let's get into question of the day.
Question of the day brought to you by Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off.
10.
That #1 spell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. Scan that QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com today. Where is it? There it is. All right, sad news yesterday in the NASCAR world. Where does Kyle Busch rank amongst the best drivers? Kyle Busch, obviously, if you don't know, tragically passed away yesterday, I think in like the afternoon or something like that. But Kyle Busch passed away. But hey, I never liked Kyle Busch even when I was watching NASCAR because he was a Toyota guy, and I liked Kyle Busch when I first started watching. Then he went to Toyota. I can't root for Toyotas. I just can't. Talk to my family. I'm not allowed to root for Toyotas. Can't even drive Toyotas. Can't even buy Toyotas. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed. If I bought a Toyota, my grandfather would have been, he's not in a grave, so in his ashes would have been like this. That's what he would have been like. So then he goes to Toyota, and I'm like, can't root for Kyle Busch. But hey, he's been there for a long time. And my buddy, I was talking with him yesterday. He goes, You don't just hate on nobodies. So he clearly wasn't nobody. Nate, you're more in depth into NASCAR than I am. Where does he rank amongst the best?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, I mean, tragic, unforeseen, really out of nowhere. I mean, it's just a reminder that, we're all living on borrowed time, right? And we all know this. And, sometimes it really doesn't take a whole lot to take you out of the equation. Sometimes one thing happens and all of a sudden you're gone. And so, I think it's just it's a brief but brutal reminder that, what makes life worth living is what you just do every day and with every moment. Like this is why, it is so important to, bring positivity and memories and try to make an impact for someone, whether you think it's little or big. And of course, Kyle Busch made a big impact on the racing community. I mean, we could talk about accomplishments, right? Like 234 victories across the Sports 3 touring series, 2 NASCAR championships, one in 2015, the last one in 2019, won at least one cup race for a record 19 consecutive years, I should say. One of the few drivers in NASCAR history to win multiple titles during the modern playoff era. And so, Truck Series, he has 69 wins. The Xfinity Series, he had a championship in 2009. So, in terms of ranking him, I don't know. I mean, frankly, I don't really care to rank him. I think it's probably a little bit too soon to get into all that. But I will say one of the greatest of all time. And just sad, just sad and sudden. And, to your point, sometimes with these niche sports like a NASCAR, often there are, I'm sure, thousands and thousands of guys who have gone through and have raced, but we didn't hear their names. We didn't really know who they are. And I'm sure there's probably a Matt Johnson out there who's raced, but I don't really know who that is. And I heard an interesting video literally right before we got on the show here today. Jeff Pearlman, who's one of my favorite figures in sports. He's a sports writer, has great stories. And he was telling a story about a player that he had covered that was only memorable because of his name. And he goes, sometimes you're memorable because of your name. And sometimes if you have an unmemorable name, it actually behooves you to be really, really good, because if you're not, they're probably not going to remember you. And so, the name Kyle Busch doesn't really pop off the page, but there's a reason why people, even in circles that aren't NASCAR based, know who Kyle Busch is. And that's because of what he did during his career. So yeah, man, sad, sudden, all of those things obviously made a huge impact on the racing community. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously our hearts and everything go out to the Busch family. And, I mean, at 41, it's crazy to think that you can make such an impact at still such a young age, because 41 now isn't old. I mean, maybe once upon a time it would be considered old, but like 41's like 30 now, especially with modern day medicine and everything. So, but sometimes you can only control so much. And from everything that I saw, it was in great health. NASCAR, in terms of being physically demanding, yeah, I mean, it's one of the most physically demanding sports there is. I mean, try turning a car at 200 miles an hour and let me know how that goes. Like, it is wild the amount of strength it takes to actually compete. So, no, really, really sad. And so, obviously thoughts and prayers and all those other things to Kyle Busch and his family. And no, Ryan, I think you should reconsider the Toyota thing. Toyotas and Hondas are the best cars in the world.
Not allowed. That's the enemy.
Anyways.
So sorry, I was laughing there for a second because Dave, man, only NASCAR driver I know is Lightning McQueen.
Okay. All right. Well, he actually competes for the Piston Cup, so I don't
and he's got him and Doc Hudson, best two.
Yeah.
And I can't really say Lightning's the GOAT because Doc Hudson, created him. And Strip Weathers. Forgot about him. The King's up there too, man. It's a good debate. Doc, Strip Weathers, him and Lightning McQueen have the same amount of Piston Cups. So, I mean, maybe you give Lightning McQueen more props because he did push him across the finishing line at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we got to give the majority of the credit to Mater. I think Mater's the guy.
Mater did create him, man. That's tough.
He's overlooked in terms of the grand scheme of things.
So okay. So look at here.
No,
the GOAT debate. It's either between Lightning McQueen, who's got 7, and Strip Weathers, who's got 7 Piston Cups. Doc Hudson's got 3. Supposedly, Cruz Ramirez has 3 now. Jackson Storm has 1. Chick Hicks only has the 1. So really, do you go after longevity with Strip Weathers, or do you go off of the 7 Piston Cups Lightning McQueen picked up in 9 years?
Oh, who made a bigger impact on the racing community? I think it would be Lightning McQueen. I mean, how do you
remember
define
Lightning McQueen
greatness?
also taught Cruz Ramirez? Because remember
saying.
that last Piston Cup, or what was it? The last Piston Cup that he won, he didn't. Oh no, that wasn't it. Okay, I'm dumb. I got my timeline mixed up there. Remember, he started the race and then gave Cruz Ramirez the race at the end there when he was fading. So, I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who you can put as the GOAT. Dave, and the stream has descended into madness. So this show has had me drinking a bottle of water with a Man City logo on it. We've had a head coach on it. We've talked about the Lions. We talked about Chris Richards in the World Cup. We talked about NASCAR. And we talked about the movie cars and who is the GOAT, Strip Weathers or Lightning McQueen.
But we literally touched on everything, man. I mean, we're missing a show on Monday, so we jammed 18 topics into today.
Yeah.
So we got enough content to cover us the next week
Lightning
or so.
McQueen better than Strip Weathers. Book it right now.
I'd agree.
7 Piston Cups in 9 years compared to longevity. I don't care about this longevity narrative. I'm talking Piston Cups 7 and 9. And he's a teacher. And he taught Cruz Ramirez. I haven't seen Strip Weathers do that. There we go. Dave, that's your fault, by the way. Also, we talked about spine.
My man's got a point. But that'll wrap up episode 292.
Lightning's the GOAT.
Have a happy holiday coming up. On Monday, we will not be live for our show. Yes, America. I will not.
He did
be
what
back
this
on
cup?
Tuesday. Oh, man.
It's a great line.
That's a good line. That's a good line. I love that line. Ryan will be back with you guys on Tuesday. I'll be back with you guys on Wednesday. But until we talk then,
America.
You gotta enjoy your holiday. America, of course. And we'll talk to you for 293
Premier League champs.
Inside the Game.